All right, what we're going to do on this lecture today is knock the rust off some of the big ideas with regard to triangle congruence, as well as go through some proofs uh, that some two-column proofs we've done a lot of with other things, but we're going to revisit proofs again with triangle congruence statements. And I'm sorry that I can't be with you today. Obviously, if my voice sounds a little froggy, I've acquired a pretty nasty head cold, so I won't be able to be with you. Now, with this problem here, I do want to put this little disclaimer out that I got this problem from from a different source than I normally would, um, and the formatting is a little different. They don't label given and identify what they're trying to prove, uh, but that information there, those statements are given, um, and then this is what we are trying to prove. That one's a little more helpful because they actually have the question. Um, but so that does look a little different than what we've been used to. But you have given information and you are being asked to prove is side SA congruent to side NE. Remember, we can't use this as a statement until we have systematically organized an argument that says they are congruent. And as you're looking at this, right, what you want to be trying to do, right, if you're looking at this figure here, this quadrilateral with one diagonal, breaking it into two triangles, we should be immediately thinking, all right, well, can I get to any of these situations here? Can I somehow prove, do I have enough information to prove that these two triangles are congruent based on one of these conjectures? Right? Because it sure looks like, and it's okay to say it looks like when we're talking about, SA and NE are corresponding parts. It's okay to say it looks like. You just can't use that as an explanation. You need to, be a little more um, specific in how you're proving that, right? But so our goal is to take the information that we have, that we're either given or we can prove, and get it to one of these situations here to prove that the two triangles are congruent. And then maybe we can extend that thinking out to two of the sides. So if you want to try this by yourself without me walking through it, feel free. You can just hit pause right now and try the proof on your own. If not, if you just want to follow along, you can do that too. Okay, so what we want to always start with, always start with a given, right? We know that we're told that SA is parallel to NE. And the reason behind that is simple. It's given to us. We don't have any other reason beside that, and we like that because it's pretty easy to prove. Why do they tell us that? What information does that provide us if we know that SA is parallel to NE? None of these conjectures here, none of these ideas have parallel in it, so always be asking yourself, why did they give us the information they gave us? Well, if we have parallel lines and a transversal, which is what NS is, we can say that this angle and this angle are congruent, and that would be angle ENS. These are ones that you have to name with three letters. ENS ASN. And we know that because that's the alternate interior angle postulate. Remember those? Right? Not going anywhere. We have to have those ready and available to use for things like that. Right? So we're moving toward these things here, right? One of these conjectures here. Now, obviously, if we've got an angle statement, if we're given information that leads us to an angle statement, we can probably eliminate side, right? We're probably going to involve an angle. There wouldn't be any reason to give us that information if we weren't going to use an angle. So I've eliminated one right off the bat. And another one that we could probably eliminate here based on the information, is the hypotenuse leg. It sure looks like they're right triangles, and they might very well be, but there's nothing in there that indicates that they actually are. So we're going to now eliminate hypotenuse leg. So what else can we put in here for statements? Well, I know that SE is parallel to NA, and that's given. And I think the marks help for me anyway. It's up to you if you actually put them in. Same question as before. Why did that information get provided to us? What did they hope for us to gain by that? And it's the same reason as before. If we know that SE and NA are parallel, SN, segment SN, is a transversal. And we know that when we have a transversal intersecting parallel lines, that the alternate interior angles are congruent. So in this case, we're going to name this one ESN. ESN is going to be congruent to A and S. Same explanation as before. Alternate interior angles postulate. Now I've got two statements about congruent angles. I'm going to eliminate side angle side as well as side side, because I don't have two side statements, and I don't really think I'm going to be able to get to it. So I've got things with two angles, and that does, if you remember, gives us a little more leeway because these are almost interchangeable. But we'll talk about why they're not, how we should package this answer at the end here. Now, the only other thing is that we always need, because all of these statements that guarantee congruence have information about a side length. And do we have information about a side length? Yeah, we do, actually. We know that side SN, segment SN, is congruent to SN. It's congruent to itself. Everything is, anything would be congruent to itself. That's the reflexive property of congruence. Right? Remember, this symbol and this symbol need to match up. So if you're saying something's congruent to itself, make sure that it's the reflexive property of congruence. If you're saying something's equal to itself, it's the reflexive property of equality. I might not get too wound around the axle so long as I see reflexive, but you do want to, they should be in agreement with each other. So now we've got two statements about angles and a statement about a side. Do we have enough to say that triangle, I'm just going to pick the same letters, the same order that I did before. Can we make this statement? Right? From the fourth step, I just took the same letters. All you have to do is change the sign in front of it, and you've got a triangle instead of an angle. Can we say that that triangle ESN is congruent to triangle ANS? Yeah, you can, because angle, side, angle, angle, side, angle. This is a case of angle, side, angle. Now, even though angle, side, angle, and angle, angle, side are kind of interchangeable, in this case here, what we have proven, what we have statements for, supports angle, side, angle. Yes, it's true that E and A are going to be congruent, but nowhere in our proof did we make that statement, so we probably shouldn't go with angle, angle, side. When you're doing a two-column proof, you can only reference things that you can support that you have supported in your proof with legitimate reasons. So given that what we have, based on the markings and based on the information that we have listed above, it's going to be angle, side, angle, and not angle, angle, side. Even though if I had just given you this and said, are they congruent, you could have, on like a level 2 question on the summative might be, are they congruent? And you could have said angle, side, angle, or you could have said angle, angle, side. But here, since what you've proven is angle, side, angle, go with that. This isn't the last step, though. That's not what we're trying to prove. Here we are trying to prove that SA is congruent to NE. SA and NE, SA and E are corresponding parts. They're corresponding parts in congruent triangles, which makes them congruent. CP, CT, C. Right? Once we have established that we've got congruent triangles with angle, side, angle, we can then say that the corresponding parts are congruent, which is what we're trying to prove. Just a reminder, you cannot use a statement that involves the phrase congruent triangles without first proving you've got congruent triangles. So this statement, CPCTC, should never precede, should never come before any of these above. Any of these side, 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 angle, side, and so forth. Right? Should never be reversed. Right? And if what you're trying to prove, like in some of the ones that you're going to do for practice, what you're trying to prove is that the triangles are congruent. You don't use this, you don't use CPCTC at all. To prove triangles congruent, we're going to use one of these 5. To prove parts of congruent triangles are congruent, then CPCTC comes into play. Okay? Now, with some of these problems, some of these proofs, you're going to have to, you might even go beyond a step beyond CPCTC. It's not necessarily always going to be the last step, right? And you'll see that as you practice some of the proofs that are there on Classroom. They're similar to the cards that we use, but I'm giving you the digital copies. I think it's just easier to work with without me being there. So as you're doing the proof practice with this, please be honest, right? I've got, as you'll see in Classroom, I've got the 3 levels rather. The proofs with the statements given, you complete the reasons. The proofs with both the statements and the reasons blank, but you have the empty table, kind of like we had here. And then you've got just the blank proof with no table given. And you just do it kind of from the ground up. Start at whatever level you feel most comfortable, but don't, be honest. Don't if you do, proof number 3 from the first group, don't do proof number 3 in the second group because you've already done it. It's nothing new. So mix it up as you go, just like you would if the cards were actually in front of you. And recognize that even if I get the answer key to the sub and you can check your answers, which I'm going to try to do, you might include a step or you might fail to include a step that the person that created these problems is including. It might not be the end of the world. We can talk more. We have talked about that, but it might not be the end of the world. Right? So make a good effort on these proofs, on the proof practice. Again, include the picture, include all the information, and then statements and reasons. If you only give reasons without statements, they make a terrible reference for the future in your notes. So put them in your notes, make sure you have them and all that. And we will go over this more on Friday, which is the next time we'll meet. Where it's not a green day on Friday, it's a regular day on Friday. So please let me know if you have any questions. I hope this helped.